Welcome back to Color Class. I'm Sarah.
I'm Lucinda.
In today's episode, we are going to be diving into 3 different characteristics of the spring 12 palette system. Whew, that's a lot.
Yeah, I was thinking, okay.
We need to simplify this.
Yeah.
We divide that out by what we've been doing, which is the 6 palette system. So now moving into the 12, we have our light spring, our warm spring, and our clear spring. So just like the 6 palette system that we've been teaching, we're now going to transfer that into the spring category.
And as subcategories. And here's where you're going to have some fun. If you've already been classified as a spring, stay with us. Mm-hmm. Stay with us through the whole category, because you may discover that you are, in fact, a light spring, or you are a warm spring, or you are a clear spring. And the palettes for those subcategories are slightly different.
Right.
They're not completely different. They're slightly different. And you may discover that, you're a spring in general. This may be new for you. Mm-hmm. Springs are light and warm. Right. That's the most basic way to describe a spring. If your hair is medium to light and and it has red or gold highlights, which makes it warm, you're probably a spring. Mm-hmm. First of all, we'll look at light spring. Remember when we taught the dominant characteristics, or when you were learning the dominant characteristics, a light is someone whose hair is very light, their skin tone is probably very light, and their eye color is probably very light. Mm-hmm. It's the trifecta. Mm-hmm.
So if there was a black and white photo done of them, there would be no black on that photo. Yeah. Everything is very light.
Very light. Mm-hmm. But as a spring, gotta add some different characteristics. So the skin tone, it's light, might have a warm undertone, could be ivory, could be light peach. Mm-hmm. Now, your hair color, again, it's got to be light, warm and light. So it could be light blonde, maybe as far as brown, but medium, not
strawberry blonde deep. Could be light. We're talking really light though.
Yeah. Light and gold, brown. You could have some strawberry undertones, but light is the key. And your eye color, what is it? It's light.
It's light.
Light and warm. It could be light blue, light green, light hazel. Mm-hmm. And if you have that package of characteristics, you just might be a light spring.
Oh, you know what else we should add? Your brows. Your brows are light too. Because if you are somebody who has naturally really dark hair and you're dyeing your hair to be light.
Pale blonde, yes.
Right. But your brows still have the contrast, then that's going to bump you out of this category. Right. Everything needs to be light.
Exactly. And what you'll notice, and we're going to show you the palette now, you'll notice that everything is light. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean you won't see dark colors. For example, you might see a charcoal, you might see a deep brown, but it's got this lightness to it as compared to other colors in this category in other subsets.
A veil was tossed over it.
Yes, that's exactly right. It looks like a veil was tossed over it. Warm spring.
That veil was just ripped right off.
You just tore that veil off and exposed these colors at their purest. Mm-hmm. And maybe not their absolute purest.
No, because that's coming. That's coming.
But warm spring, what do you know about warms? Yeah, everything is warm. Right. Remember we taught, if you're running away from the scene of a crime, how will somebody describe you? Would they describe you as light? Or, really warm? She had red hair and, golden skin tone, and she was just like a bronze goddess. Mm-hmm. So basically, a warm spring would have a skin tone that is warm, with a golden undertone, kind of peachy, golden beige, ivory. Your hair color will have golden highlights and be warm and rich. It can be golden blonde. It can be light golden brown. It can have, it can be, just a little red, and not auburn, but you can go to like a strawberry blonde, and then your eye color is warmer than.
Right.
So, green, typically green, golden brown, or a warm blue. Now you might ask yourself, what is a warm blue? It's just on the edge of green. And you'll notice when you look at these palettes, the palette for this warm spring, again, Sara said it was like the veil was ripped off, from the light palette. The colors become more vibrant, but you will see the nuanced blues that go a little more toward the green side. You will see nuanced purples that are a little bit more toward the violet side. You'll see lots of green in this palette and lots of warm reds.
But I do want to mention muted colors are not great for springs. So stay away from the muted colors.
Like you said.
Yeah. We
Make
love
sure
some
that
muted
veil
colors,
and cool. Cool colors.
Yeah. Your blues are okay.
If they're nuanced, if they're shoved a little bit toward green in the palette.
Right. But for most part, anything just muted you want to stay away from. You have the ability to wear those rich, vibrant, warm colors. And speaking of rich and vibrant, warm colors, let's move on over to our clear spring, because this is where it really takes just that veil again, which is ripped off again.
But what you'll notice here, and I don't want to talk too much about the palette yet. In fact, I'm going to save that. And let's talk about characteristics of the clear spring, and then we'll talk a little bit about the differences between the palettes. And then, of course, like we always do at the end of the video, we'll show them side by side so that you have a mental picture. We are big into mental pictures.
Absolutely.
Of these palettes side by side. But are you wondering if you're a clear spring? Do you have a warm undertone, perhaps, in your skin tone? Are you fair to medium? Is your complexion clear and bright? Now that's a key here. Your hair color, again, bright with a lot of contrast. It can be bright blonde, bright red. And by red, I don't mean auburn, I mean red.
Right.
And look for those warm red highlights. And then, of course, your eye color could be bright and clear, often light blue, green, or a clear hazel. But here, clear is the key. Now, what makes an eye clear? One thing that I've noticed that you can look for a clear eye is that the ring, the corona around the iris, that's the outer ring of where the color is on your eye, is dark compared to the color of your eye, which is lighter. And that creates this brightness effect. It's almost like it looks like glass.
And we can always reference our videos for the 6 dominant characteristics palettes, because again, you notice our adjectives that we're using. We're using light, we're using warm, and we're using clear, which is the exact same that we used on that 6 dominant characteristic palette.
Yeah, so, they're all tied together. And that's one of the reasons that I love teaching color, because believe it or not, a lot of people say, well, it's just opinion, but it's science. It's not opinion. And what you start to see when you stay with us is that there is a science to this that ties everything all together and into color theory that applies to painting, to everything related to the visual arts. So looking at this palette, what you'll see is this looks a lot more, quote, primary. And when we're talking clear, it means that it's the color that comes out of the tube of paint. It's not muted, it's not veiled, it's not pushed over to the warm side of the color palette. It's very bright and primary.
And I love Clear Spring because this is about one of the only palettes that can really wear a bright orange well. So I think that's unique. And think colors for lipsticks and blushes. You can incorporate some oranges, which is really amazing.
But surprisingly, what you typically won't see in a spring palette, if you did the 4 seasons, are a true pink.
No.
Girls, if you're a clear spring, you get one.
You kind of bridge not the gap, but you bridge in between the clear winter.
Yeah,
remember
you flow
when we
a little bit into the clear winter.
When we show our wheel, clear spring and clear winter are right next to each other. So there are some commonalities between the two.
And some colors that you share.
Right. And remember when we were talking about springs and you mentioned you've seen some beautiful springs that can wear the color black. This is what we're meaning when a clear spring kind of bridges that gap. You have these darker colors that, I mean, not pure black, but it's close to it. So
in a prior life, we worked for a company, a combined total of 30 years.
40 years.
40, oh, yeah. A lot of years. And at that company specialized in the 4-season system, and that was it. And so we worked with a lot of clients, and we did videos. And what we discovered is when we would find certain springs who looked. Do you remember that video where we had that gorgeous spring who looked amazing in black? And that was one of the things that really pushed me to expand my horizons into all these different palettes, because the 4 seasons just didn't cut it. And this is a case where if you've been analyzed as a spring, you may be able to wear black and
if you
cool pink.
Right. If you have the clarity on that spectrum, the soft to clear spectrum, if you have that clarity, you can wear these clear spring colors, which are just beautiful. They're so bright. They pair beautifully with your features. So just one note though, avoid the muted colors.
Right.
Avoid the muted colors, but really embrace these bold, bright colors.
Bright corals, clear yellows, lime greens, turquoise, and just don't go too dark, in your colors. But and experiment with black if you're a clear spring, because I remember that lady to this day, because it was mind-blowing.
Absolutely. So we are going to be doing this for all 4 different seasons. So we're starting off with spring, and then we'll get more involved in the different palettes and what they look like. I know we just kind of dipped our toes in the water here, but we are going to be continuing this video series and going more in depth on each of the 3 characteristics, talking about lipsticks, blush, things like that. So don't forget to subscribe. Also, liking, commenting, sharing helps us out. We are a new YouTube channel. We are 4 months old now?
We're a baby.
We're little babies.
We're babies.
So we'd love.
So you have to take care of us.
We'd love for you to like, comment, share, do all the amazing things to help this color analysis community grow as much as possible. We want to have an amazing community of so many like-minded people who love color. So thank you for joining us in this video. Lastly, I'm Sarah.
I'm Lucinda.
This has been another color class, and we'll see you in our next video.